What is up, FPL managers, guys? Today we are looking at the best chip to use in double game week 24, looking at assistant manager Slot, assistant manager Moyes, and triple captain Salah. So guys, we're looking at what the best chip to use in double game week 24 is and who is it the best to use on. Now guys, the assistant manager options are only Arne Slot and David Moyes, and triple captain, let's be honest, it's only going to Salah. You're not going to give it to someone like Jordan Pickford. And before deeply looking into it, guys, we're going to look at each chip and what it's all about. The triple captain is very simple. It's been around for a while. Instead of your captain getting twice as many points, he gets triple the amount of points as he should. Very easy to understand. It's considered one of the weaker chips, but it can bring your team many more points than it would originally have if you play it right. The assistant manager is a lot more complicated. It's the first season being around. It doesn't last 1 game week, it lasts 3 game weeks. It's considered the most powerful chip in the game, which I agree with, but there's also some drawbacks for it as well. It costs you money, okay? A big expensive manager will cost you 1.5 million. That's an inconvenience. You're going to have to sacrifice something in your team just for this chip. It also takes up a 3rd spot from any certain team in the league. This game week you can only have 3 players from Liverpool, and the Slot assistant manager chip counts towards that. You cannot have Salah, Gakpo, Trent and Slot. You would have to sacrifice one of those players, and that's another drawback because you want triple Liverpool for this game week. Finally, if you want to make the most of this chip, you can switch managers throughout the game weeks, but it costs you free transfers. And I know that's technically optional, but it's still another drawback. But these drawbacks are reasonable because the potential points you have as an assistant manager is ridiculous. 1 point for each goal you score, 2 points for a clean sheet. You get 6 points for a win, you get 3 points for a draw. Not to mention the table bonus points. Guys, I thought I misread this when I first saw this rule set, okay? You get 16 points for a win when you beat a team 5 places or above. If you look at game week 23, you weren't allowed to use the assistant manager chip, but David Moyes got 19 points from a 1-0 win. That's ridiculous, guys. It is. So let's go into it first. We're going to look at Arne Slot assistant manager. Now guys, Arne Slot assistant manager, straight away we already know he's going to block a 3rd Liverpool player. So when using this chip and when thinking about who to use it on, we need to really evaluate, is it worth choosing Arne Slot over a 3rd Liverpool player? Now in my opinion, the best Liverpool triple up is Salah, Trent and Gakpo. So we have to look at Arne Slot and see if he's actually going to score more points than Gakpo would in this double game week. Looking at Liverpool's fixture run here, Arne Slot would be in your team for game week 24, 25 and 26. A realistic case scenario in that is Liverpool win 3. Let's be honest, they're playing away to Bournemouth and away to Man City. 3 wins could even be generous, you know, it's not the easiest fixture run. And Arne Slot, because he's like, you cannot get any bonus points whatsoever, he's only going to get 6 points for a win. So looking at a realistic case scenario here, Arne Slot probably turns these fixtures into this score. Now, I could be wrong, obviously. You know, I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell the future. But this is something realistic. Let's say they do beat Bournemouth. They do beat Everton. You get 16 points combined from that double game week. Do you think Gakpo is, you know, in a position to get 16 points as well? I think he is, considering just last game week, he did it in 1 game instead of 2. And I think the same thing for Trent as well, guys. I mean, I know Arne Slot, the assistant manager chip, does run on for 2 more games as well, but that's 2 more games Gakpo and or Trent is blocked out of your team. Let's look at what I think Gakpo could do if he was in your team instead of Arne Slot. Once again, I could be wrong, guys, I could be wrong, but if you look, the points, they're not really so different. I don't think Arne Slot brings anything more to your team than a 3rd Liverpool player. I think all he's going to do is take up budget, use a chip that you don't need, and if you want to get the most out of him, you can change him for that Man City away game that he's probably not going to get points in, but it would cost you a free transfer and just end up worsening your team. So in my opinion, guys, I know it sounds a bit harsh, but using assistant manager on Slot is just a waste. It doesn't add any value to your team whatsoever. I don't think it's worth using the chip on him. I think he's a straight up avoid. So let's look at David Moyes now. Do I think David Moyes is better than Slot? Yes, 100%, because he's not a waste of space. But that doesn't mean he is a great option either. Looking at his fixture run here, you'd have him home to Leicester, home to Liverpool in the double game week, then you'd have him away to Crystal Palace and home to Man United. Now in general, for an assistant manager, this run is pretty good. Okay, ignore the Liverpool fixture. You have home to Leicester, which is safe points. Then, playing Palace and Man United. That's 2 games where Everton could be in for some table bonus points depending on how Man United and Crystal Palace play in the next couple games. So you've got a good mix of everything here. Safe points and high upside. The thing I don't like about this is that you're basically using this chip in a single game week if you use it on David Moyes. Now what do I mean by that? Well, there's 4 game weeks. He's playing a double. But is he really? Playing home to Liverpool, he's guaranteed to not get any points that game, let's be honest. Do we think Moyes is going to get more than 1 point against Liverpool? Probably not. There's a chance, less than 20% chance I'd say, but there is a chance. So, you know, there is some upside there. It would be 8 points for a draw, 16 for a win. If you got points in that game, it would be huge, but the likelihood is quite low. So I think potentially David Moyes could have a run like this. Safe points against Leicester, big blank against Liverpool, but I do believe he could pick up some table bonus points against either Man United or Crystal Palace. And if one of those table bonus points turns out to be a win worth 16 points, that makes the assistant manager chip well worth the time. I mean, even if it's a draw, guys, let's say they draw 0-0 to Crystal Palace and Crystal Palace are 5 places above them, that's still 10 points. Not to mention the 8 points you already got against Leicester. You know, everything else is just a bonus. Alternatively, guys, scenario 2, David Moyes loses every single game, which is very, very possible, guys. I see it going one of 2 ways here. I don't see it going in between. I think it's either going to be a huge success or a huge fail. Considering he did just get 19 points in one game against Brighton, I kind of like the idea of going for it. I mean, I'm not fully set on it, but there's a lot of upside there. And if you take that risk and he does get that win, that's big gains on almost everyone in the game because not a lot of people are going to have assistant manager Moyes. That's a differential right there. Now let's look at Salah triple captain, guys. Salah triple captain is very simple to understand. I mean, Salah is a good player and Salah is going to get triple points as your captain instead of double. The problem with this one is, guys, Salah isn't on the best form right now. He's scored 1 goal from open play in the last 4 games alongside his 0 assists in the last 4 games. And while he is having arguably the best season of his life, he is on bad form. And he's also playing 2 tough fixtures like we already said when we were talking about Slot. Playing away to Bournemouth and playing away to Everton is nothing close to easy. It's definitely on the harder side of things. The one benefit it does give you is that it is a very, very safe option and a lot of other FPL managers are going to do it. So it's, you know, reliable for you. If you don't want to take a risk, you want to hold rank, Salah triple captain is a great option to go for because I would still back this over using triple captain in a single game week. I really would. I anticipate this is probably how he would score, roughly. But, you know, obviously I could be wrong again. I could be way off. So, guys, in conclusion, it is a bad game week. There is no doubt about it, okay? It's not really an ideal game week for chips, but guess what? It is the only chance you have to actually use a chip in a double game week. I mean, for example, if you don't use one of your chips for this week in game week 24, you're going to have to use one in a single game week unless there's another random double game week coming up. So I would recommend all of you use a chip, but we've got to make the most out of it. In 3rd place, it goes to Slot. Like I said, guys, he is a waste of space. I think he's going to hurt you more than he helps you. 2nd and 1st is a tough choice, and a lot of people are going to help me for this. I think Salah triple captain is 2nd place because I don't think Salah gets more than 2 goal involvements across these next 2 game weeks, guys. I'm being completely honest. He's not on great form, and the fixtures aren't great. So I don't think I think he's going to get in between 15 and 20 points, which, don't get me wrong, that's an alright triple captain. You wouldn't call it a failure, but I do believe there's going to be better weeks for it in the future when he finds his form. Maybe Isak or Haaland or even Palmer. So I kind of like the idea of Moyes assistant manager. It could go insanely wrong and it could get me like 4 points, I know. But just one win against a certain team, he'll have a few opportunities to do it against, you know, Liverpool, maybe Man United, maybe Palace in the future. And that's a 16-pointer if you get a win. And even then, if you get a draw, it's still good. Okay? I like the upside of this one. I think it's the only chip you can use this game week, which can actually give you a big boost. And chips, I think you should play them high risk, high reward because there's no real loss if it fails because you didn't really stand to lose anything in the first place, you know? A chip's a bonus. If anything, you may as well play it risky. I'm probably going to be playing assistant manager Moyes this game weekend. I'm happy doing it. It's going to be differential. And I think he's going to get me some points that no one else is going to get. You can call me stupid all you like in the comments. I'll see you all after game week 26 when my Moyes assistant manager run is up. Guys, if you did make it this far, you are greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. I will see you all in the next video.